Alright, welcome back to ReZero Anime Review, episode number 61. We are here reviewing episode number, I believe it's like 56 of the series, known as Conditions of a Night. Yes, 56. And with this very episode, we have only 10 left to go for the whole season. This episode adapts from, basically in the way of chapters in this very book, it finishes up adapting Chapter 1. That's all finished up here. Chapter 2, they adapt a little bit more of this chapter. I'd say about 20 more pages of this chapter-ish. And then they go straight to Chapter 3. Yes, Chapter 3. Which began on page number 99 of the book, and adapts the first, 1, 2, 3, 14, so, I think it's about 16 pages, so a portion of chapter 3, so, yeah, that's what they're adapting here, and they're adapting this very slowly. Now, do I have a problem with the fact they're doing this, where they adapt from portions of chapters, like basically this portion of the chapter, and this portion, and this portion? Do I have a problem with that? Not necessarily, no. Because this arc had a lot of stuff going on in this period of time, and you can't exactly have everything be adapted in one episode. And I think that White Fox, the studio who makes this one, is doing their best to take their time. Yes, they did adapt a whole book for one episode, but that was 90 minutes, and that was acceptable. But like, okay, we got past that first book, where they pretty much adapted the whole thing, and adapted a section of Chapter 4 from Book 17. And then, over the course of the previous few episodes, right now we're at technically the 6th episode of this season so far, and 17, they pretty much in a way covered that in about, I think covered about the first 5 episodes, where they took that much time to cover that book. 5 episodes, which, in my honest opinion, that's actually a pretty good period of time, because so far it's like, okay, we're adapting from this portion of the chapter, this beginning, and this beginning, and then we finish that one chapter next episode, we start these other ones, we continue it. That's kind of what they're doing here. Do I have an issue with it? Not necessarily, no. It's perfectly fine. As long as we're getting stuff in that needs to be there. I would say that this is done a little... This is probably... Now, yes, this is a different method they did from the previous season of the show, where in the case of the previous season, Season 2, they just adapted full chapters. Like, notice they do like 1, maybe 2 chapters an episode, where they adapt them. And my guess is that White Fox... They may have gotten some criticism from the previous season. They may have adapted a little too much too quickly, and they were skipping some stuff. It wasn't terrible, per se. I guess that they're trying to take their time with this season. Given, allegedly, this is going to be 2 course. I don't think it is. I honestly do not think it's going to be 2 course of 6 episodes. That'd be stupid if it is. Especially since they did a good job adapting Book 16. I would say, right now, we're only in the 6th episode of the season. We're in Book 18 already. Like, wow, are we 3 books in? Yes. Of 5 books. This is roughly the halfway point of this story arc. Yes. When I originally reviewed this, I think which is a couple years ago, this was kind of in a way the halfway point of the whole thing. This is only Book 3 of a 5 arcs, because it concludes with Book 20. And I had heard rumblings that this season would last for a good period of time and cover, roughly 10 books. That's what I heard. Now, I do not know why in the world that White Fox is being very scarce when it comes to the episode count, and also claiming it's going to be 2 course. In my honest opinion, it's not going to be 2 course. Given the fact that I don't see, a ending date for this one. I think it's a 2 course, it's going to be 2 16-episode course. I don't think it's going to be 2 course, 18 episodes. I think that article was a big fat lie when it came to that, because given the information I get from my anime list, I highly doubt it. We're not going to stop after 8 episodes and take a break for a few months, get back to it. Just for the same freaking season. I highly doubt it. Do I think there's 6 episodes? It's possible. I don't think it's going to be split in 2 cores. That's ridiculous. Like, if you do that, you kill the momentum of the series. 8 episodes is way too short for a core. Way too short. A core is maybe like 12, 13 episodes. Not 8. That's freaking stupid. Like, I'm not sure. Now, that's been confusing about the season. Now, it's an adaptation. It's not, let's say, the most confusing about the season is the episode count. That's been the most confusing about the season so far. Because there has been a conflicting reports about the episode count and also if this is going to be split in 2 cores. Like, I've heard 2 different reports related to this thing. 2 different reports. Like, 2 different articles. Why in the world White Fox is confusing people? I don't know. This is by far one of the most baffling things I've ever seen. I have never heard of a studio where they release a statement in an article that this is the episode count, and the next one's like, oh, it's going to be 6 episodes split in 2 cores. It's like, you're saying that and you're confusing your audience. Do I think it's a turnoff in the season? Kind of, yes, but I don't think that people will stop watching it because of the confusing episode count. I highly doubt it. So, that's probably the reason. Now, as far as I can tell, now, we haven't heard anything about season 4 yet, if we're going to have one. I think there will be, given the fact that this season's probably getting a good amount of reception. Oh, in case you're curious, though, these following characters are not in this episode, and it's not due to they were cut. No, that was not the reason why they're not here. They're not in the material they adapted for this episode. Garfield is not here. Rico is here, but Garfield is not. The siblings, the 2 of the triplets, they're not here. Crouch is not here. Well, technically she makes a small cameo in the episode, but she does not play a role. Also, Beatrice is mentioned, but not seen. And that's because she's been in coma since book 7. She's been in coma for the past few episodes. So, what happens over the course of this episode? Well, let's start with Subaru, where the whole thing with him is that he wakes up after being, almost drowned by the flooding of the gates, which the witch's called did that. And he's woken up by Priscilla, who he has not seen since, he hasn't seen her in terms of the anime, not seen her in 4 episodes. And before you ask the comments below, did White Fox cut her scenes in previous episodes? No. That didn't happen. Nope. The reason why she was not there was because she was not in the source material. That's the only reason why. If you want to blame something on, because I know that she wasn't cut because she wasn't cut because she was in the source material. She was not. Because I own the physical books for ReZero. So, you might be thinking, oh, Nick, are you lying that you claim that you say that the character was cut due to, or scenes cut to time? No. These characters not cut due to time. That's not the reason why. Because they are not in the source material they are adapting. So, okay. So, if you want to blame somebody for not putting a character you like in an episode of what they're adapting here, for White Fox, it's not their fault. They're adapting portions of chapters. They're trying to go as slowly as possible with these things. And that's the only reason why she wasn't here. Was because she was not in the source material. It was not due to her being cut at the time, because she was not there. That's the reason for it. Let's move on from that. So, she wakes up, and also she decides to poke Subaru in the leg which, by the way, the previous episode got cut off. He's like, wait, how the heck grow back? I thought it was cut off. Dragon's blood. Yep, dragon's blood. And slices him and heals up quickly, but not fully. Also, Camilla. The singer who had not been seen since episode 2, she's back too, and it's the same reason why Priscilla was not in the previous episodes. She was not in this source material they adapted at all, so that's why she wasn't here. There is a character they do cut that's actually in the source material, from what I can tell, but that they may adapt next episode. Possibly, but I don't know. It depends upon what they do here. So, basically, that she's, been informed that, of course, she's about to go back to the music company, but the company was attacked by the Witch's Cult, so new HQ is City Hall, which is taken from the Witch of Lust. Oh, and they also have these demi beasts that attack them, and Priscilla uses a sword she pulls completely out of nowhere, which, yes, she's in the book too, and she proceeds to slice them up, and then of course takes Subaru down to one of the shelters, and apparently to mention about the witch's authority. Now Priscilla is probably questioning of how the heck he would know that. Well, it's not due to return by death because he spent time around these people, and the fact basically got him for the frickin' witches. So, and of course, Camilla herself proceeds to calm all down, and she proceeds to look at everybody else, and he runs into another demi beast, and then of course he's saved by Julius. Yes, Julius, who takes his new HQ, which is where he's want to learn about City Hall. Where, and of course, I mentioned Rico. I think Garfield's out someplace. Beatrice in a coma, and Crouch is, basically she's recovering, but they can't see it because of the fact she's in terrible condition. Now, as far as I can tell, the way it's proceed here in the episode, and of course we do see when he arrives, basically Felix proceeds to slap Wilhelm on what happened to Crouch. Felix does not blame Subaru for this, all despite the fact he was with her. Yeah, he does not blame him at all. Nope. Subaru does not get the blame for this. Wilhelm gets basically the blame because he's the knight. Though I think that basically him getting slapped by Felix was completely unnecessary. So, then Felix will be with Crouch. It's implied Felix got a thing for Crouch, given the fact they're childhood friends. But it's not been delved into. So, after that, basically, Julius and Anastasia have a conversation with Subaru. They got a little bit out here due to other stuff happening, so they discuss basically what's going on here. Of course, I mentioned about the 3 additional demands: the artificial spirit, the tome of wisdom, and the wedding of the silver-haired girl. And of course, Anastasia asks Subaru point blank, "Is Beatrice an artificial spirit?" And Subaru is like, "Yes." They also added in basically, you said about hesitation, which of course in the book it was mentioned that she had that reaction. Here they actually show, which I had no problem with that. That's perfectly fine. Yeah, and of course, yeah, because it's complicated. He mentions a little bit about the witches, and also mentions about the Tomb of Wisdom, about these. There are actually 2 tombs. They're actually, the way he describes them is that they're prototypes for the Witch's Cult Gospels, and they've been destroyed. They were burned in a fire. So, Anastasia understands everything perfectly fine. Yeah, she doesn't question if in fact Subaru is lying, because even she can tell Subaru would not lie to her. Well, she's not known very well, but she can probably tell by the way he talks, and the fact he was probably not hesitant to tell her about Beatrice being an artificial spirit. They do cut the bit out basically about, oh, she's just cute and nothing else is basically interesting about her. Well, she's very powerful, artificial spirit, that is. He does keep that from her, but it doesn't exactly ruin the scene here. Oh yeah, and the wedding, the silver hair girl, it's basically the potential between Emilia and Regulus, which that's going to play a big role in this book. So, and then we cut to where Emilia is, where it picks up from her perspective right where the end of the last episode left off, with the whole flooding thing. And of course, basically, she's still covered in a sheet. And eventually, of course, Wife 184, now getting into later, where after, of course, Emilia gets her clothes on, and of course, basically, with some reaction. Oh, by the way, he does point out where they're going to get married. A temple nearby. Of course, she can't tell where it is until she steps outside. So, and then, of course, he says something. Apparently, Regulus, because she's been a little exhausted, so Regulus proceeds to try to punch one of his wives. Yes, he tried to punch her, but lucky enough, with a very powerful thing, lucky enough, Emilia basically tackles her in time, basically prevent it. And they do mention in the book, apparently she's kind of making herself smaller. I'm kind of glad they cut that out of the anime, because reading that, yeah, that's freaking stupid. Regulus does mention that he has had 251 wives, a lot of whom have died over the years, and he has about 51 left. And why in the world for those numbers? It's the best way I can describe the reason why he first always wise by numbers. It's the best way to remember them. And of course, she proceeds to sort of take a nap, where she makes a ice version of herself to sleep in bed, and then she proceeds to go out her window, making these little ice things for her to walk on, and she just basically look at the city. She just see where the temple is. Oh, we're in the 3rd district. Oh, she knows exactly where they are. And then she overhears a conversation where Regulus is talking to one of his witches cult, who apparently he wants nothing to do with it because he's trying to plan a wedding. And the fact he nearly, well, and also they do show his wives. Some wives in the episode, they don't identify them per se. We see look like about 10 of them, and they're carrying pews into the church. Yes, those of you curious, have I personally ever picked up a pew? Yes, I have. They are freaking heavy. My gosh, those things are heavy. They're heavier than a freaking chair. Because it's literally, basically about, the thing is, it takes 2 people to lift this damn thing, and this thing is heavy. I basically, one time I had to lift basically about 10 of these things into a freaking chapel. Yes, of course, this was about 20 years ago, but yes, I personally have lifted up a pew before, and they're heavy. The only reason they were taken out of the chapel because they were modeling it. That was the reason why, and I was kind of helping out per se. I did help basically lay down some carpet in there. I did basically also take some of their tools, and felt on the actual stage, basically where they have the equipment, and I felt for all the plugs, because I knew they were going to basically try to take time to find the plugs. And I found all of them. I found all the plugs I could find. And from what I could tell, they didn't have a problem doing this at all. Because, well, I'm sure they're probably going to have to take time to look for this. And since I took the time to basically find all these plugs, they need to be uncovered because they're covered by the carpet. So they're very appreciative about that. They also had to move a step that basically they deemed was unnecessary. And mostly put the original purpose of this was to lay a new carpet in this chapel, because the carpet that had been there for a while probably was getting a little old, and so they wanted to lay down a new carpet in this chapel, and that was simply the reason for it. And some churches have pews I've been to, but not all of them. My personal church has never used pews at all. We never thought of using pews. A lot of our churches I've been to do generally have pews. Very rarely I find churches with actual chairs. Yes, so he's informed, oh yeah, basically about the setup. And by the way, the conversation, basically he finishes up, closes it. Now, as who he was talking to, it's not exactly clear who he's talking to. And then Emilia knows he's basically talking to one of these capsule things that basically is these mirror things that normally women use. And she opens it up, and she hears birds talking, and it's Al. Priscilla's knight. Which is interesting. And that's pretty much the episode in a nutshell. An absolute fantastic episode. That's just my ass, anyways. And from what I could tell, very little was cut here. Like, mostly put, it was some conversation bits, but nothing too important that ruins the story. Not really. The episode kept everything in, perfectly fine. And when I first heard about ReZero, I had heard that this series was very famous for being very faithful to the source material. And that's why I kept getting, that's why I got renewed for season 2, because a lot of people praised it. It didn't rush it. I mean, yes, the first season did pretty much adapt like about 8.5 books, because that's all they had at the time. And they did it in 25 episodes. But they basically took their time. It was excellently done. Yeah, they cut stuff, but later on they did have a director's cut, and I haven't seen director's cut of these episodes, but they're like an hour long, and they put stuff back in. I kind of wish season 2 had that, because they got a big album there, but that's them all together. Excuse me. So that's pretty much it, particular view. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications, and do another like button. Next up, I'm going to do probably one comic corner for tonight, because that's probably the time to do. Because I have to get ready for work early in the morning. I have to get up at 5 a.m. to get work at 6. Okay? But do this video. Bye.